The title of today's talk is Sword of Light. The story behind choosing this title is quite interesting. There was a novel by H.G. Wells called The War of the Worlds, and in that, the characters used a sword of light. That was a sword, and a strong beam of light used to be illuminated from the swords. And similarly, we have a similar gadget in our hand now, and that is similar to what we call laser. So I give the now you must have gathered that the talk will be based on laser, and I have named the talk as Sword of Light because I called it as a Sword of Light. And the content is based on my article in Science Reporter, which was published way back 24 years back. So it was a cover article in the Science Reporter at that time. The laser stands for light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation, and it was invented at Bell Labs in 1960. This is the team who was instrumental in developing the first laser. Let's come to the basics of laser. As we all know, that atom consists of a central nucleus and orbiting electrons in different orbits. So when an electron orbiting around the nucleus absorbs energy, it jumps to a higher level, and after some time it will come to the lower level, any lower level, releasing an energy, and that energy is in the form of a light photon. So you may see that the electron is pumped to a higher energy level by supplying some energy. This energy may be in terms of heat, in terms of a photon, in terms of anything that can excite an electron. Now this electron goes to a higher level, but it is unstable. So it comes to a slightly lower level, and that we call as a metastable state. And at this metastable state, the electrons come up and have a develop a population that is greater than the number of electrons in the ground level. So we call this stage as a population inversion, where the number of electrons in the higher level is greater than the number of electrons in the lower level. So when this is achieved, the electrons start coming back to the lower or the ground state, emitting photon. And these emitted photon in chain strikes another electron of another atom, and the process goes on multiplying, and the resultant, we achieve a bunch of photons, and which are emitted coherently from the laser device after multiple reflections from the mirrors. Now let us see. This is an atom, and when an incident photon comes, the electrons get excited. These are the unexcited electrons. When it absorbs energy, the electrons get excited, and they develop a population inversion in the metastable state, like I told you earlier. And when this population inversion is achieved, electrons come to a ground state, emitting a photon. The first laser developed was the ruby laser. It consisted of a flash tube by which the energy was supplied. The tube consisted of a ruby crystal having atoms in it, and there were mirrors placed at both the ends of the tube, lasing tube. So When photons are made incident on the ruby crystal from the flash tube, the excitation of electrons take place and the emission of photons is resulting in the emission of photons, and which after multiple reflections from the mirrors are emitted coherently from the tube. And thus, this emission is called stimulated emission. This is the stimulated emission. One mirror is partially silvered, so light comes from that. The resultant laser beam comes from that partially silvered mirror. The other one is a fully silvered. Practically, this is the ruby laser. This is the lasing tube that I was talking of. This is the power supply. This is the flash tube. Light is incident through this one, this flash tube, and this is the lasing tube. Light is emitted, laser light is emitted from the mirror here, and output we get from here. Now, what are the properties of the laser beam? Why this laser is important? Firstly, the laser beam is monochromatic. And what we mean by monochromatic, that it consists of a single wavelength. And single wavelength implies that it will have only one color. So it's perfectly monochromatic light. And secondly, it's coherent. Coherent means that the optical properties of wavelength and phase and frequency are maintained up to large distances. The light is very directional. It is not scattered. It is not dispersed at short distances. These are the three main differences between an ordinary light and the laser light. It's monochromatic, directional, and coherent. Whereas the light from an ordinary bulb has many wavelengths, it is multi-directional and incoherent. We now go to types of lasers. There are various categories defined. So the first one is the solid state laser. But before talking of the kinds of lasers, we classify the lasers on different bases. This classification on basis is based on the principle of laser. There is other classification based on the number of the energy levels we are taking into account. Like in the diagram I have shown you before, we were having this ground state, the excited state, and the metastable state. So there were three levels: the ground one, the excited one, and the metastable one. So the laser obeying that kind of configuration are called three-level laser systems. Similarly, we have four-level laser systems in which there is one more energy level comes into picture. So that is a different basis of classification. What we are dealing is a basis principle of the laser and the material that we are using. The first one is a solid state lasers, and it is ruby laser. It is a solid state laser because it consists of a ruby crystal, and it was devised by Mayman in 1960, and the active medium is a ruby crystal. The other laser is the neodymium laser. It is a four-level laser, like I talked just now, and the light emitted is transmitted easily through liquids. And the practical importance of this very laser, that is mostly used in medical applications. In most of the medical applications, you will find this laser. Second one are the semiconductor lasers, diode laser. A diode laser is commonly available in the market in 100 rupees. You can have it. It's basically that pointer that you use to point at large distances. That's a diode laser. The second one is the injection laser. The other ones are the gas lasers. First one is the helium neon laser. That, as a name suggests, that there are two gases in the mixture, helium and neon, and population of inversion of one gas is achieved with the help of the other. And this was the first gas laser to be operated. and devised by Ali Jawan in 1961. An electric discharge is used to initiate the lasing action. Other one is the CO2 laser, the carbon dioxide laser, and it affords you speed and versatility, high depth and angle of approach. The other ones are the copper vapor laser, argon ion laser, helium silicon laser, and excimer lasers. You can see all the kinds of lasers here. This is the anti-ag laser that I was talking of. It's a solid state laser excited by a diode laser, and this 1064 nanometer is the wavelength of the radiation. And this harmonic, you see, there's one more device placed in front of the laser. This is a non-linear device, the harmonic generator. So this is not a compulsory device that is attached with that is not attached with every laser. It's only to study the non-linear effects. If you want to generate frequency of the double or triple of the this laser frequency of the laser being emitted by the NDAG laser, you use this kind of harmonic generator. The other ones are the dye lasers. The purpose of the dye laser is to achieve the desired wavelength for a very specific purpose. If you want a wavelength of 5893 Armstrong or 5899 Armstrong, for which an ideal laser doesn't exist. So you can use a dye of that wavelength and let the laser beam pass through that dye, and you will get that wavelength. So basically, these types of lasers are dye lasers. Now the other one is a free electron laser. This is the most interesting one, and this has been my research area. I did my doctoral thesis in this free electron laser, and I applied the ion channel focusing into this laser, but that is a higher concept. We should not go into detail of that. And this principle of this laser was devised by, outlined by Morse in 1950, and the Mayday was the first one to develop in 1970s. And the most advantage is that it can be tuned over a large range of frequency. Tuned over large range of frequencies, by which I mean that we can achieve the desired frequency but just by changing some characteristics. As you can see that the name suggests, it's a free electron laser. So it consists of a beam coming through. So by varying the intensity of the beam and the other parameters of the beam and the magnetic field through which it passes, we can change the characteristics of the output beam. Not only the frequency, but power and other things also. And here the transference of energy takes place from one wave to another under specified conditions. Like in this laser, be specific. The energy is transferred from an accelerated electron beam to an electromagnetic wave to enhance the power of. Now let's come to the applications of lasers. The broad areas are the security and defense, scientific research, commercial and entertainment, and medical applications. For defense and security, we have lasers to detect the targets, to mark the targets, guiding ammunitions on the target, missiles, electro-optical countermeasures, and blinding troops. For research, we have laser fingerprint detection. Forensic sciences, we use different kinds of lasers for the applications. Spectroscopy, laser ablation, laser scattering microscopy, metrology, and others also. Commercial and entertainment consists of laser printers that everybody uses, optical discs, barcode scanners, thermometers, laser pointers, 3D holograms, laser light shows, decoration. We will be having different subsequent lectures on applications to holography and to communication. By communication, we mean that fiber optical communication. So I'll be planning different lectures for these specified applications. In health, medicine and healthcare, it's bloodless surgery, kidney stone treatment, dermatology, ophthalmology, dentistry, neurology, tissue repairs, and cosmetology. Nearly all the branches of surgery, we are using lasers. Basically, lasers are used for coagulation and other defragmentation purposes. Here we have the detailed applications, like I talked. In industry, you can see hole drilling, cutting, standardizations of scales, welding, laser cutting of the metal. There's a fiber optical cable, the thermal imaging. You must have heard of this thermal imaging, and recently, this is the modulated laser for laser shows. This is the 3D imaging. Plus, it will also be used in the teleportation that we are planning teleportation experiments. These are the arms, the laser guiding. These are the medical applications. This is eye surgery, dermatology, cosmetic surgery, and all. And we end this fundamental lecture here. This is the basic lecture that I wanted to convey to you, the principle of laser and what perspective uses we have for lasers. And the majority of the physical applications in holography and fiber optical communications we will be dealing in the subsequent lectures. And it's goodbye for now. And you can post your queries on the comments box and the feedback form available to you. Thank you.